The Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly stretched for nearly 3 kilometers. Crystal pillars rose toward a ceiling, painted with the light of 1,000 different stars. Species from across the known universe gathered here once every standard cycle to discuss trade, borders, and the endless politics of interstellar civilization. Today was different. Today, the Assembly had gathered to welcome humanity. Ambassador Kethvara of the Silaxian Confederacy adjusted her ceremonial robes and looked toward the massive doors at the far end of the hall. Her species had evolved on a world of eternal twilight, and her large eyes reflected the soft glow of the floating light orbs above. She had spent 40 cycles as a diplomat. She had welcomed dozens of new species into the Assembly. The process was always the same. Young civilizations sent their finest diplomats, their most eloquent speakers, their most peaceful representatives. They came wearing symbols of peace. They came ready to negotiate their place among the stars. The humans had achieved faster-than-light travel only 3 standard cycles ago. They were infants by galactic standards. The Silaxians had been sailing between stars for over 10,000 cycles. The Dravani Empire had existed for nearly 50,000. Humanity was new, small, and presumably eager to prove themselves worthy of joining the greater community of intelligent life. "They are approaching the outer security perimeter now," announced High Chancellor Mordrix, his deep voice echoing through the hall. He was a Dravani, standing nearly 4 meters tall with scales that shimmered like polished metal. His species had once conquered half the galaxy before evolving into a more peaceful civilization. "The human vessel has entered this system." Kethvara nodded. She had studied the reports about humanity. They came from a small blue world orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Their history was filled with war, but all young species had violent pasts. The galaxy had learned long ago that new civilizations needed guidance, patience, and firm boundaries. The Assembly existed to provide exactly that. "Have they sent their diplomatic credentials?" asked Representative Yis, a member of the insectoid Chitrani species. His mandibles clicked together as he spoke. "Not exactly," Mordrix replied, his voice carrying a hint of confusion. "They have sent military identification codes." A murmur passed through the assembled delegates. Kethvara felt a slight chill run down her spine, though she dismissed it quickly. Perhaps humans simply organized their government differently. Perhaps their military handled first contact situations. There was nothing to worry about. After all, no species in their right mind would send warships to their first meeting with the Galactic Assembly. The great doors began to open. Kethvara had expected perhaps a dozen humans. She had expected flowing robes and symbols of peace. She had expected nervous smiles and carefully rehearsed speeches about cooperation and mutual benefit. Instead, she watched as row after row of humans marched into the great hall in perfect formation. They wore uniforms of dark gray and black, decorated with medals and insignia that gleamed under the floating lights. Their boots struck the crystal floor in perfect unison, creating a rhythm that echoed through the vast space like the beating of a great heart. At the head of this formation walked 4 individuals whose uniforms bore more decorations than the others. Their faces were hard, weathered by experiences that Kethvara could not begin to imagine. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never known the fear of being prey. The formation stopped exactly 30 meters from the raised platform where the High Chancellor sat. One of the 4 leaders stepped forward. She was a woman with silver hair cut short and eyes the color of storm clouds. When she spoke, her voice carried easily through the vast hall without any apparent amplification. "I am Admiral Victoria Chun of the Terran Defense Fleet. These are Admirals Okonkwo, Petrov, and Yamamoto. We represent the United Earth government." Mordrix leaned forward in his seat. "We were expecting diplomats, Admiral. This is a gathering of peace." Admiral Chun's expression did not change. "With respect, High Chancellor, We are what Earth has chosen to send. Our diplomats are busy managing the aftermath of the harvest. Another murmur spread through the assembly, this time louder and more confused. Kethvara stepped forward. What is the harvest? Admiral Chun turned to face her. There was something in the human woman's eyes that made Kethvara's blood run cold. It was not anger or hostility. It was something far more unsettling. It was exhaustion. It was the look of someone who had seen too much and survived anyway. 18 months ago, by Earth Standard Time, a fleet of vessels entered our solar system. They called themselves the Collective. They said they had come to harvest our world for resources. Our population, they informed us, would serve as a food source for their journey to the next feeding ground. The silence in the Great Hall was absolute. Kethvara felt her hearts begin to race. The Collective. She knew that name. Every species that had existed for more than a few thousand cycles knew that name. They were the reason entire sectors of the galaxy remained empty. They were the monsters that parents used to frighten children. They were supposed to be extinct. That is impossible, Mordric said, but his voice had lost its strength. The Collective was destroyed over 8,000 cycles ago. The elder races united and they were not destroyed, Admiral Chun interrupted. They were hiding, waiting, growing stronger in the dark spaces between galaxies. And 18 months ago, they decided that Earth looked like an easy target. Admiral Okonkwo stepped forward. He was a tall man with dark skin and a scar that ran from his forehead to his jaw. When they arrived, we had no idea that life existed beyond our solar system. We had no allies. We had no advanced technology. We had only ourselves. The Collective sent their standard invasion force, Admiral Petrov continued. He was shorter than the others, with ice-blue eyes and a face that seemed carved from stone. 12,000 vessels, ranging from fighters to planet killers. They expected our world to fall within hours. Admiral Yamamoto, a woman who appeared oldest among them, spoke last. The battle for Earth lasted 11 months. We lost 3 billion people. We lost entire continents. We lost things that we can never recover. She paused, and when she continued, her voice was barely above a whisper. But we did not lose the war. Kethvara's legs felt weak beneath her. You defeated the Collective? A species that has never achieved faster than light travel defeated the Collective? Admiral Chun nodded slowly. We did not merely defeat them. We captured their vessels. We studied their technology. We rebuilt. And then we tracked them to their hiding place in the void between galaxies. You went after them? Mordrix was standing now, his massive frame trembling with something that might have been fear or disbelief. No species has ever pursued the Collective. Every civilization that has faced them has simply been grateful to survive. We are not every civilization, Admiral Chun replied. We lost 3 billion people. 3 billion mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, friends and lovers. Every person on Earth lost someone. The Collective made us understand that the universe is not a safe place. They taught us that there are things in the darkness that will destroy us if given the chance. She took another step forward, and something in her posture changed. The exhaustion in her eyes gave way to something else, something that burned with a cold and terrible fire. So we hunted them. We found their home in the Great Void, and we burned it. Every ship, every station, every colony. We killed them until there were none left to kill. The Collective will never threaten another world again. The silence that followed was the longest of Kethvara's life. She looked around the great hall and saw fear in the eyes of delegates who had lived for centuries without knowing such emotion. She saw understanding dawn on faces across the chamber. Humanity had not come to ask for permission to join the galaxy. They had come to inform the galaxy that they already had. We did not come here to negotiate membership in your assembly, Admiral Chun continued. We came here to warn you. The Collective was hiding in the void for 8,000 cycles. What else might be out there? What other horrors are waiting in the darkness between stars? You want to form an alliance, Mordric said slowly. A military alliance. We want to ensure that no other world suffers what Earth suffered. We have seen what humanity is capable of when our backs are against the wall. We have learned how to fight, how to win, and we are willing to share that knowledge. Representative Yis made a sound that might have been laughter or terror. You are offering to teach us how to wage war? We are peaceful civilizations. We have evolved beyond such barbarism. Admiral Yamamoto turned to face the Chitrani delegate. Her eyes held no judgment, only sadness. The collective thought the same of Earth. They thought we would be easy prey because we had never faced a threat from beyond our world. They believed that beings who had known only peace would crumble when confronted with violence. She paused, allowing her words to sink in. They were wrong. Humanity learned to fight each other long before we reached for the stars. We have been at war with ourselves for our entire existence. It is not something we are proud of. But when the collective came, our history of conflict became our salvation. We knew how to fight because we had been practicing for 10,000 years. Admiral Chun stepped back into line with her fellow admirals. We are not asking you to become warriors. We are asking you to acknowledge that the universe is more dangerous than you have allowed yourselves to believe. We are asking you to prepare for the possibility that other threats exist. And we are offering to stand beside you when those threats emerge. Kethvora found her voice at last. What do you want in return? Admiral Chun looked at her for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. We want to know that we are not alone. For 18 months, we fought a war that we believed was the end of everything. We had no hope of rescue, no expectation of aid. We survived because we had no other choice. Now we have learned that the galaxy is full of life, that there are other minds, other hearts, other dreams among the stars. She turned to address the entire assembly. We lost 3 billion people defending our world. We lost part of our innocence. We lost our belief that the universe was a safe and peaceful place. But we gained something as well. We gained the knowledge that we are capable of facing the worst that existence can offer and surviving. We gained the strength that only comes from being tested to our absolute limits. And we gained the determination to ensure that no other species has to face such a trial alone. The Admiral stood in perfect stillness. 4 humans who represented a species that had been forged in fire and emerged as something new. They were not diplomats. They were not envoys of peace. They were the messengers of a simple truth that the galaxy had forgotten. The universe was dark and full of terrors. But humanity had looked into that darkness and refused to blink. They had walked through the fire and come out the other side carrying the flames. The galaxy had expected envoys. Instead, they had received a warning, a promise, and an offer of alliance from a species that had proven itself willing to fight and die for survival. As Kethvara looked at the 4 admirals standing before the greatest gathering of intelligent life in the known universe, she understood that the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had arrived, and they had brought the fire with them.